Hi there, Zsoka here from A Pocket Full of Happiness, and in today's video I'd like to share with you these 5 cards, how I made them. I am going to use some wintry colors, white, gray and gold. And I will be using these 3 stamp sets, Jumbo Christmas Sentiments, Winter Wishes and the Trellis Background. All of these are from the new release. And I'm starting out by cutting some card panels in gray and white. For white I'm using Neenah Solar White cardstock, and for the gray one I just showed you which one. I am starting with the gray one, and I'm not really using ever pigmentings, but yeah, I wanted to try this white one. I don't know if I ever used it actually, but I figured that this cardstock doesn't really stamp very well, but I'm okay with this distressed kind of look. And for my next panel I'm gonna try white embossing, for which I'm gonna use Wow Opaque Bright White embossing powder. Sorry, it was a bit blurry, that image. And this is a brand new embossing pad, so it's very sticky, and still you will see that I'm not getting great results. Again, I think this is the cardstock's fault, because this stamp set actually stamps really well on the Neenah cardstock. Anyway, I'm going to stamp it 4 times, but as you can see I'm not losing any detail, so that's really great. And then I'm covering it with embossing powder. I think Fine, because this is the regular type, Fine would probably work better, but I only have the regular one. And this is how they look next to each other. I think I prefer the embossed one, but it's gonna be okay for my purposes. So I'm going to use some gray inks, and look at this. A blooper. Yeah, it happens, and in today's video I think I'm leaving in every single mistake that I made, and there were some. So I will show you later how I saved that card, though, that I just messed up. And here it's a dark gray ink. Again, it's a kind of distressed look. It's okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to take the Winter Wishes stamp set, and I will do what I think it's one of my favorite things to do, is build patterns with all kinds of images. I'm using Altenew inks, a gray set. I'm going to link it in below in the description box, so you know which ones, but I'm also showing each one of them in the video. They stamp well even on this darker cardstock. I'm not sure I used the lightest one, but I think I did. Anyway, I'm covering up the whole panel up to the point where I messed it up, and then I'm just going to use this part for one of the cards that I'm making. And excuse me, I'm also doing a little bit of embossing here. I would have preferred if I could have space for 3 of those berries, but I only had space for 2. But it's okay. I think it's gonna turn out okay. And another mistake I did, because I'm really impatient, is that I did not wait for the ink to dry here, and I started embossing on that. But I think I might not show that. I had to use a little brush to remove all the embossing powder particles from the inked images, but it worked out fine. It actually, you cannot tell once I embossed it. I don't have any flyaways or anything, which I was very surprised about, to be honest. I will lift it up in a second so you can see it closer. Then I'm moving on to the next card, this is a vellum from Alexander Renke. They have high quality, beautiful products. And as much as I love vellum, I really don't like embossing on it. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. This is even a really thick vellum, and I use the low speed on my embossing tool, and also on the first heat setting, so it's not very hot, but still I get warping, and I really don't like it. I don't know, it's not that I'm a perfectionist, but somehow I just can't deal with that. Anyway, I'm now trying to figure out what I should do with it. My idea was to cover this piece, but then I didn't quite like it. And normally I just put some double-sided adhesive on the back of a card panel like this, and then fold the vellum around it. However, this is really thick, so it wouldn't fold just like this. So my next genius idea is to use my trimmer to create the creases. However, for some reason this just cut through the vellum. I don't know, I think this was not even my first try at this. But I'm going to save this piece. I'm just going to trim it down to the width of the card panel, which is 4¼ inches. And then I will still need to think about how I'm going to fix that there, because obviously I can't use glue, or at least I don't like to use glue on vellum because it's visible and it doesn't hold. At least I didn't find anything that holds well. Anyway, I'm now working on the card base, so at least I have that ready, and then I can think about the rest. Excuse me. I didn't quite like that you couldn't really see the embossing so well, so I decided to put a white cardstock piece behind it, and this way I could still see some of the design of the beautiful vellum. So I'm attaching this cardstock piece to the front of the card, and now I decided to stitch this down. As you can see, I stitched it at the top and just a little bit on the side, and I can still, you know, I didn't stitch it all over because then the warping would have been obvious, and I don't mind this kind of texture and dimension that this gives to it. And then I will finish this card off by adding some twine at the top part of the card. I'm working simultaneously on all of the cards. I hope it doesn't confuse you, but this is how I normally work, and I didn't want to edit the video differently, one after the other. I hope it will make sense. I'm just kind of working on several things at the same time. Okay, then this is the card that I posted on Instagram in a short video. Here I just decided for, well, I still call this a 1-layer card because there's really only stamping on it, maybe a little bit of embossing in the end. I'm just creating in the corners, I don't know, like a bunch of stamped images here, and I will add some embossing to again to these berries. And again, I didn't wait for the card to dry. I don't know what I was thinking, and I mean, I did it on the previous card as well, but it will turn out okay. So I'm just saying this, that maybe you want to avoid my mistake. So I use white embossing powder for these berries too, and then I will add a sentiment in the middle that will be gold. Here you can see better that I had a lot of powder sticking to, well, everywhere, but using some brushes I could swipe them away, and everything looks fine. I don't even think I had one fly away. All right, so this is already embossed here, and then I'm going to move on to the next step, which is what I mentioned before, the sentiment. And this is from the Jumbo Christmas sentiment set. This is actually one of the smaller ones that I have in that set. And for this one I'm using the gold embossing powder, the Gold Rich Pale. This is one of my favorite golds, and the other one that I did not mention but I showed earlier in the video is the other gold that I really love. And I'm also doing something I don't normally do. I use my embossing pen to add some details just for some sparkle, and again I have to swipe it all away because obviously the ink is not dry yet. But I really like the effect that this will add to the card. Maybe this you can call like a second layer, I don't know. For me this is still a one layer card. You see, it's all sparkly and shiny. I really like it, and it's kind of imperfect, which adds to the whole handmade nature. Okay, I'm adhering this to the card base, which I am trimming down now. This is always what I'm doing. I never have a ready card base because I don't know, somehow I just never have the right size. So I just cut it to size when I'm working on the panel. And then I decided to add some acrylic paint splatters, and I watered it down a little bit, not much, but still once this dries it will not be as white as I imagined, so I will add a second layer later. Okay, so I set it aside to dry, and in the meantime I'm working on my next card. I had that, if you remember, I had that piece that got cut off from the vellum. I'm using that for my sentiment on this card, not to waste anything. And again, I'm using Gold Rich Pale embossing powder for this one. And now I'm just going to add the sentiment. Actually here you see I could fold it in, but because this was a smaller piece, but this is what I normally do with vellum. And then I will start creating my card base, attaching the embossed panel to a card base, and then I will also add the stamped panel that I saved from earlier, another mistake. So basically this card here has several items that were, you know, not planned the way they were. And I'm adding some foam, craft foam, and with some adhesive to this card. Not quite in the middle, I think, just, you know, just to be a bit off. And then I decided to add some more details with a gold jelly pen. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see it so much in the video, but in the picture, in the still images at the end of the video, probably you can see it better. No, you can see it here as well. I like these tiny details. And then I'm adding some twine, as I do most of my cards. And then this card is going to be ready. Next up, oh no, actually, I was wrong. I'm really sorry that I'm babbling all the time. I'm really nervous. Alright, so to finish it off, I'm adding some gold splatter, and then really that's going to be the end of this card. In just a second I will lift it up and you can see the splatters better. Aren't those really nice? Okay, so back to my previous card. If you can see, the white splatters just are not very visible. So what I did now, I added a lot less water. So hoping that this time the splatters will stay white, and they will. Actually, it looks kind of like I don't know, frost or snow. I don't know, but I really like the effect. It's kind of wintry. You will see this in a second as well. The one thing I didn't like about this here is, for some reason, the white paint picks up the gray and it turns into green in some areas. You will probably see that in the still shots. Okay, next card. For this one I'm using another part of the Winter Wishes stem set, which is the wreath builder. This is not a perfect wreath. You can it's very easy to line it up, because really there is no wrong way to line it up, to be honest. Just as you can see here, I'm also trying where I would like it better. You can put them in different spots though, and then I'm going to repeat it in the other corner as well, and I'm using the same ink pads for all the cards actually. Then well, this one it will also be a one layer card, and it's very simple. In fact, for my taste, it's a lot of white space. If you know my work, then you will know that I really prefer lots of color and patterns and pattern papers and stuff like that. But you know, for winter, I think I can do white. All right, so now I'm using gold pigment ink, which I also have never used. I think I've had this ink pad for probably, I don't know, 4 years, and I don't think I've ever used it, but it stamps really well. I really liked the result. I did not expect it to work this well, to be honest. And then I am going to stamp another, I haven't finished that card yet, but while I'm at it, I'm going to try and stamp a full wreath. It doesn't turn out perfect, but I think it's alright. I will admit that it's hard to tell where to stamp it so that it's gonna be completely centered. So you will see here that I had more space on the right, but I will correct that. You will see it in a bit how I will do that. But as you can see, it's really easy to create these images. And then I will also stamp some of these. These are the same images basically as the big ones that you saw earlier on one of the cards, and they are just smaller. And this one here is the one with the berry. Sorry that my hat is getting in the way all the time, but I couldn't edit it out, otherwise I wouldn't have had any footage left. So here I just used gold pigment ink for the berries. And I'm back to the other card. I am going to emboss the sentiment in gold. I'm using Warm Winter Wishes from the Winter Wishes stamp set, I believe. And yeah, I again didn't wait for the ink to dry, but it's all good. I don't have flyaways here either. Next up is finishing this card. I'm just gluing it on the card base, which again I will have to trim to size. And this one, yeah, again warping. Like I said, I really don't like warping, and even though this is just a small embossing in the middle, it warped enough for me to not like it. So I'm adding an extra layer behind it before I add it onto the card base, just so you know the glue helps it to straighten it out a little bit. And another thing that happened here, I don't know if you can tell, on the top of the card there, what is that called? Not the trimmer, but the one that you use to crease it with. The metal colored it completely, the white cardstock. I don't know why this happened, but I will just add some twine there, so you cannot tell in the end. A lot of mistakes in this video, really. Okay, finishing up this panel as well with some gold embossing, and then I will trim this panel down so that it's centered, because that kind of bothers me. And here I'm gonna use a die, just so, actually one reason is so that the warping gets corrected a little bit as the die is going through the machine. And also I just like the texture that the die creates. I'm creating the card base with a gray cardstock panel, and then I'm going to add some gold splatter to the wreath, just, you know, going in circles. I will add some gold splatters. Then I will set it aside to dry, and in the meantime I'm going to switch back to 2 previous cards that are already dry. I will finish them by adding some twine, just the way I like it. I don't know, do you guys use twine bows? I don't remember seeing many people doing that. I don't know, maybe I'm too traditional. Just somehow, sometimes I feel like my card is unfinished without them. I don't know. All right, so once these 2 are done, my other card is gonna be dry as well. The gold splatters dry very fast, so I can finish that one too. You will see me adding a layer of cardstock to the back of this panel. I'm doing this because the Neenah cardstock that I have is the 80-pound version. It's really thin, it's not very sturdy, so I sometimes, especially when I want to add foam like here, I like to add another layer of heavyweight cardstock just so that it's nice, you know. So this is basically the whole card. I'm just going to add this panel on the gray card base, and of course I'm trying to figure out a way to add twine here. My original idea was that I hang the wreath from the top, but just somehow it didn't work out the way I wanted, and so I ended up putting it at the bottom. Honestly, I'm not convinced that this was the right decision, but it's gonna work. Today's video is about imperfection, right? Alright, so here are the finished cards. I hope you will learn from my mistakes, and still I hope that I could show you some thing that inspired you to create today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.